computer. Okay, thank you. Zoom keeps changing their screens. So, okay, welcome everybody. This is the NCSA Trees Committee, and today is the 24th of August, 2024. And I think we have quite a few presentations, so I'm gonna get right into it. Our first one is from Yael Pardess, and she's going to be speaking on the South, I'm sorry, the Arroyo Seco San Pascual project, which may be, if it goes through, is proposed to usurp a park, part of a park. And she will tell you more. She's going to screen share. And before I make any mistakes in my explanation of it, I'll let her take over.
Okay, just so you know, the group has studying the project at the speed of light. And so there are a lot of facts, and we're trying to be as precise as we can. So there will be questions, and there might be some. I'm going to show that there could be some discrepancy in all the documents that I'm finding. Anyway, San Pascual and San Rafael are two parks that are very close to each other. You can walk from one to another along the Arroyo, and both of them are slated for quite a bit of destruction as a result of a water reuse project that is a joint effort between three cities, Pasadena, South Pasadena, and they're trying to wrangle CD14 to approve it. CD14 has not yet approved it. So as far as we know in our communication with them, so the two sides, I'm going to be mostly discussing San Pascual because it is our side of the city. It has many trees and it has a spout of fresh water that runs into it. The majority of our concern belongs to this part, but also to the lower side that belongs to San Pasadena. The permanent infrastructure, there's going to be a pump right there on our area. So first of all, for those of you who are not familiar with this park, I'm going to show a few images just so you can see how absolutely gorgeous this place is. It has running water that accumulates at the end of the park into some sort of a small dam with reeds. It has creatures of all kinds, including little fish, and it has enormous canopies. It has 83 palms that are habitats for bats, as far as we have seen, and California Fish and Wildlife also stated that there could be bats there. They did not do a night observation. These are some of those palms. I just want to show you briefly the water around. It seems very fresh, pure, and gorgeous. It has anything from tiny creatures to shells or clams and ducks, birds of all kinds. You will see images in a few minutes. This is the end of the park where you have a dam and the water flows back into the Arroyo. Originally, it was built as some sort of a water filtration or water cleanup, and it was put into disuse and very neglected. The whole park is neglected. Trees have grown, invasive trees have grown, and some trees that are not necessarily protected, but absolutely part of the habitat. So it's part of the whole wildlife corridor that connects San Gabriel Mountains down with Debs Park. And they state that it is not considered a wildlife corridor, which is erroneous. This is San Rafael. This is San Pascual. They plan to take water from this stream and the main Arroyo, store it, divert much of it into this park under a completely new restructure, and divert a large part of this water into the golf course, which is one of our very big concerns. The community outreach was very poor. They claim to have sent 200 families at 500 feet around the park, which, as you can see, barely covers 200 families, because the actual community that uses this park is miles away from this park. I live in Mount Washington and I go to this park at least once a week. The community has many, many memories and personal connection to this park, and they were not contacted in English or in Spanish, as it should have been by law. Our council member, Kevin De Leon, expressed his concern in a 3-page letter early on, and he got some responses that are not very convincing, to say the least. The period for comments for the public, as you can see in this letter that was mailed, was from November 22nd to January 15. The holiday times, and most people will not log in into this hard copy link at the bottom and find out what this is all about. This is not the right time to contact people. So as soon as we started to gather our information, we managed to gather more than 300 signatures in opposition and people who spoke up at recreation and parks meetings and stated that for various reasons why it should never happen. As a result of this very poor outreach, the project received 2 letters only from the community in that comment review period, which was at the beginning of the year. And they take it as an acceptance on our part, which it is not. This park has a very big significance to a lot of people, either personal memories. The Gabrielano Keys says that it contains ancient burial sites. For them, trees and animals are sacred, and for many of us too. The AB 52 requires public agencies to consult with the tribes during Seco process, and it didn't happen. The Eli portion of San Pascual also holds a hitching post that doesn't have a plaque, so we cannot ascertain how old it is, but some people say it is at least 100 years old. Now, I walked in the park today and I found many of these which may date to the same date, and they do have a plaque that says that the city of Pasadena, cultural heritage landmark, preserved and maintained as a natural park. So I want to state here that for us, for all of us, this is a public park, and it cannot be taken away from the public without the explicit permission of the public or our representative. So environmental impact, there will be many impact. First of all, because of the quantities of water that are diverted, either filtrated in the area or going into the golf course, there's going to be a significant reduction of water in the Arroyo. And we don't know if the golf course will take the same amount of water during dry years. The second major impact is a forest destruction. And you're going to see very shortly how dense this forest is. According to most of the chart that I've examined, the plan intends to remove 82% of the existing trees in San Pascual, not San Rafael, San Pascual only. According to them, there are 166 mature trees that they've counted. I've counted more in other charts, but they are going to be removing 136 out of 166, according to their count. Many protected oaks, sycamore, elderberries, which will decimate the local ecosystem. Now, just so you know, as you probably know, forests have a very big environmental significance to LA. We're not forest rich, and I've just signed that petition about stop destroying our forests. Forests reduce the heat, the noise, the pollution, and they provide many, many health benefits to everyone, from animals to people. And there's so much science about the health of forest. When you walk into this mini forest, you can definitely feel the effect of it, even though it is neglected and dirty in some areas. In order to replace these trees, it will be at least 20 to 50 years until they provide an adequate canopy with shade and protection for animals. The whole ecosystem of the park will be eliminated. When they are going to be digging all these roots and all these trees, they will also take the actual natural water flow and all the little animals that live in it that serve as food to other animals. And I mentioned the 2 years of destruction that will impact everybody, from light pollution, because those trees really protect us from the lights from the park, to the noise, to the air that they can filter. Regarding the water, we saw this graph from their presentations, and we turned them into gallons. And we saw 62 acre feet equals 20.2 million gallons to the golf course. And we are wondering about this number. There are other diverted, water infiltrated means it just goes into the ground or stored, and we don't know how much. This is the volume of what they can store. This is what they can actually capture, and this is water that they filter. So we have several questions regarding this water usage. First of all, do they have the rights? Who gave them the rights? And we know from discussions with other people that they have been sued, Pasadena, for water storage that was illegal 3 times. So we want to make sure that they cannot do that. The water belongs to everyone. And these are the number 175 gallons of water annually on average. This is what they're going to be capturing on average, regardless of the year, or we don't know if a rainy year will impact this number. Less than half of that water will be filtered and introduced back into the channel. This will change the nature of the water flow in the Arroyo Seco, because if they take so much water, it means less water for the channel down that flows back into the LA River and to all the animals that depend on it. And we talked about the Arroyo. Now, we have many, many questions regarding this, and I'm going to finish the presentation first and then go back to all these questions because they are very, very important. And this is the chart. Now, I want to show you the density of the trees. Everything that seems gray here are sycamore and deciduous trees. It doesn't mean that they're dead. There were several fires in the park, but the trees are not dead. And the park is divided into 2 areas. This is the Los Angeles area. This is the South Pasadena area. We marked in bubbles all the trees that will be eliminated. The red are the protected trees. The yellow are non-protected or natives that are not protected. So there will be elms and carobs and all sorts of trees that are part of the habitat as far as food, even fig trees, they're not counted. So the laurel sumacs, for example, there are many, many laurel sumacs along the bank. They're not counted in this, but they will all be removed because they are not part of the replanting and the restructure of this park. So we were saying 82% will be gone. This is a map that we based our research, but there are many other charts, and on site, we also saw that there were some trees that were not tagged. And so we don't know if they are which exact tree it is. Most of the marks match the map, but there are some additional trees. These are questionable replanting. So Kevin De Leon suggested a minimum of the 4:1 ratio as per the Protective Tree Ordinance of Los Angeles. They are not following this ratio, as you can see. For example, sycamores, there are existing 17 in the park, LA and South Pasadena. They're removing 5, replanting 17. It's a ratio of 3:1, a little extra. Live oaks, 3:1. Blue elderberry, 2:1. Arroyo willows, they're removing 2 and replanting 62. And we don't know why. If they want to create an understory, they could use other native trees, such as black walnuts, toyans. They're not planting any of these trees. Chamel ash, so you can see 83 Mexican palm trees are going to be taken down. They are stunning, historical, and they are a habitat for many birds and the bats. So I mean, I look at it and I want to save them. This is another chart in which I dissected a little bit more which trees are removed in each place. So 9 protected trees are removed in LA, 27 protected trees in Pasadena, but out of the 141 trees, only 52 will remain in place. And in LA, there are 19 trees protected. I did not count how many will stay, but not many trees stay in LA because we only have 25 trees and 9 are removed, and others, like the palms, we have 4 palms that are removed. So not much is staying in LA. The design of San Pascual is completely different. This is their plan. This is their chart that shows all the removed trees and the existing trees to remain. There are very few in brown.
Yeah, we can't see your chart now. Can you screen share again?
You mean the presentation is gone?
I can't see it.
It might be on your end, Marcia. I don't think anybody else is having that problem.
I'm actually able to see the graphic. We're on the Park Design San
I can
Pascual.
see it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see it. You're not at your full,
No.
you're in, you're not in slideshow mode or whatever that's called these days, but you're,
No, I am not. I can augment it.
you can make it bigger, but
Yeah.
Marcia, I think it's on your end.
It says host disabled screen sharing on mine. I don't know why.
Well,
Maybe that would happen if you perhaps accidentally clicked on screen sharing yourself and you are not authorized to share screen.
Me? I
Oh,
am.
Marcia.
Marcia,
No.
Well, it now just came up, so I
okay,
don't know.
good.
Fine.
Okay,
Anyway, thank you.
no problem.
It could
Okay,
have
continue,
accident-
Yael. Go ahead.
Okay, so this map is small. It's not terribly important. It's more important is this, because it shows the exact same thing, just bigger and in color.
Okay, are you ready for questions or do you have a few more? slides?
A couple more, and we're going to be done.
Okay.
So we saw that, you saw that, you saw that. An ecosystem lost. These are some of the birds that were captured in San Pascual, and there are many more. So they have some mitigation that say that they're going to protect nests, but as you read carefully, those mitigations are completely unrealistic because the trees are so close to each other. As you know, the fence for a nesting tree is 200 feet around a nest for as long as the nest is there. So, and 500 feet for a raptor. The park is barely 200 feet wide. So that's not going to happen. Alternative areas, we want to make sure that they consider other options that will not destroy this ecosystem. And our conclusion is we demand an EIR, an objective EIR. The mitigated negative disclosure is done by the same company, PSOMAS, that is going to build this project. There is a significant loss of environmental good that we want to protect, and this park belongs to the people. and it should be treated as a public asset, as a gem, including all the living creatures, and it needs to be protected for our generation and future generations. It needs maintenance, though.
Yeah, can you comment on the law that the code that says that parks cannot be withdrawn from the public?
There is a chapter 594 that you and I read to it, and our group read to it, and we are trying to understand ourselves, what does it mean for this park? Is it clear that it belongs to the public, or is, because in some of the paperwork in the MND and others, they are trying to say, oh, this is not actual public land, or it belongs to this, or it belongs to that. So I think this is a law question, a lawyer question. We want to make sure, and this is how we want to pressure Park and Recreation and our CD14 to investigate this, because we cannot just give the lease in perpetuity to another city so that they can use the water and destroy our trees and our water. So I'm not a lawyer. I cannot fully understand. If Clara wants to jump in and talk about it, it would be useful. Or someone else, maybe Steve Crouch or
We think that it's in opposition to the Los Angeles City Charter, Section 594C, which says that basically parkland is protected and you can't give it away. There are very limited reasons why you could give it away, but it has to be approved by the Board of Recreation and Parks. And so we've been targeting our efforts on them. We do have the support of the councilman for CD14. And so we have been trying to get the Board of Recreation and Parks to stay in opposition to this. And we're hoping it never even is brought up before the commission, but we're hopefully getting letters from different groups to send to the Board of Recreation and Parks. Under certain circumstances, the city council would have to prepare an ordinance depending on how they're trying to do this as well. So at this point, we're trying to educate people about it and hopefully getting letters of support from different groups. And this will impact a lot of our community there in San Pascual, and the city of LA is park poor. So why should we be giving away any of our land to water South Pasadena's golf course?
Exactly.
And California Fish and Wildlife has not actually declared their approval to this project. And they are being quoted in almost every document and most of every page as this is their jurisdiction, and they're following some of the rules regarding planting and tree protection, etc. But they were not even aware of this project. And how is it possible, we ask ourselves? I mean, there's something wrong with this picture.
You're saying California Fish and Wildlife wasn't aware? Yeah, because with an NMD, I don't think they go, that's a mitigated negative declaration, which is a kind of EIR light that they sometimes use instead of an EIR to just try to get something through. And instead of a full-fledged EIR, which has to look at tribal elements and more environmental elements than the MND. And I think that it's a double-edged sword with an EIR, because once they spend the money on it, they really want the project to go through. But on the other hand, the California Fish and Wildlife will point out what has to be mitigated. They don't necessarily stand in the way of it. They explain what has to be done to what needs to be mitigated. They don't say how to mitigate it, but they indicate what has to be. So let me take other questions.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Fish and Wildlife said that they get flooded with MNDs and EIRs right around between Thanksgiving and the New Year. Probably because everybody figures they won't be able to respond to them all. So this was mailed out the day before Thanksgiving. So when the mailers, which were addressed to resident, hit the areas, it said resident, and it came in with the day after Thanksgiving, Good Black Friday mailers. So that's how they were trying to discourage participation so people wouldn't know about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing is we're learning that we have someone looking at the water issues, and they're saying there's very few benefits from this project in terms of water or the amount of trees they're going to be taking down. It's kind of deplorable. And
one important thing to mention is that the channel is getting pollution above the project from various sources that are not inspected, such as the stables and other spouts. And why not treat the water at the source instead of destroying a whole park? I mean, why letting all this pollution run down the stream instead of just stopping the pollution in the first place? So this is one of our demands as well.
So one question in the chat is there an action alert? So this should go to RAP, right? At this point, I actually attended two Rec and Parks Commission meetings in person, and the third one that I was told this group spoke at. So they've spoken now at 3 different monthly. Well, that's it, monthly. No, it's every 2 weeks, isn't it? Yeah. So I think you need to to answer that question. Am I correct, Yael, that they would need to write to the Rec and Parks Commission and state their objection to the project?
CD14 and RAP.
Yeah, CD14 as well.
Yeah.
So you can look up CD14. It's Kevin DeLeon's district, and then for Rec and Parks, they can the commissioners. I actually have their email addresses. Do we want to put that in the chat, or
Sure.
actually I don't have them handy, but
I will send them to you. Yeah.
we'll take your time and put them in the chat later. But let's go through the questions. But that's and the project name. Put the correct name of the project in the chat too when you get a chance.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Are there any hands that want to be raised, or I'm just scrolling through the chat. There's one. Marcia, go for it.
Thanks. First of all, thank you so much, Yael and Clara, and anyone else on this who are working on this project. Very, very important. And I want to suggest, I didn't hear anything about the soils. And, when they go in to take all of this out, digging up the soil is a very, very big part of it. And it's often missed. And, you do have obviously a very intact ecosystem there. And it's important that you talk about the carbon sequestration and the carbon storage that the soils and all of these plants and trees have. And, as soon as they take all that out, the carbon is just released to the atmosphere. And so this is not a good thing for climate change at all. We say that we want to protect our climate. And so that's an important issue. And I just wanted to ask, related to South Pasadena, because I grew up there and I have a lot of friends and classmates who still live there. And maybe I could help mobilize some of them. Is this their project, or have they already approved it, or what is the situation related to the city of South Pasadena? Because I'd like to help in that regard if I can.
Pasadena is a lead agency. It's a co-project between the city of Pasadena and city of South Pasadena.
Right,
And
okay,
so
South Pasadena has already approved it in some way?
they did the approval June 17th of this year,
Oh, boy.
and an NOD has been issued, and I filed a lawsuit just to preserve those rights before the deadline.
Good for you. Well, maybe we can still
This is
rally some of the public there, because it's a small community that, not Pasadena, but South Pasadena. It's a separate city. And they are, they can be mobilized. I mean, they really are the ones that stop the 710 freeway from coming through. So if I can help with that, I'd like to.
That would be great. That would be great. By the way, RAMP in their issued a very strange comment in their letter that says they will grant access, shall approve the project final plan and accept the improvement upon the completion of construction. That is very,
That's bizarre.
very questionable.
Bizarre.
We find a lot of things, we have to tell you.
Yeah. And South Pasadena stands to gain because their golf course gets watered, plus they get this reclamation land, it gets signed over to them. So
But you have alternatives, and those alternatives are so
Exactly.
important. I think that's what we have to stress, is that there are alternative sites.
yeah, can you show that site,
Yeah.
that parking lot, Yael? Do you have a flyer?
Absolutely. So there is a place here right across from the park that is a flat parking lot that has no trees. This is just the shade of the tree, and it actually extends here and a little bit there. And it's perfect for all the machinery. You don't have to remove any trees, and you can dig under and put it back up if you want the parking lot. And the other one is across from the golf course, which will not require hardly any tree removal. This is very sparse here, and they could probably incorporate it because the major trees are the surrounding trees. What in their plan, they want to do a pretty surrounding sort of landscape. So it would be perfect for that. And one other thing that we are considering asking is there must be some other technologies out there that can create the filter inside the channel itself. Why do you have to go around and destroy all these trees? I mean, I'm sure there are other ways to do it. And I know that in the past, there was a project that requested the implementation of a complete natural Arroyo Seco, where they will remove large chunks of the concrete and bring it back to nature. And that was abandoned. So what happened to that, and why? And why do you want to destroy instead of recreate?
Right. Gwen, you're next.
So I did have a question that, well, has an assessment, has anybody actually gone in and just even as a hobbyist and gone and seen amphibians or of any type, frogs? Specifically, my sensitive point is salamanders. I actually lived in West Los Angeles, and in my backyard back 60 years ago, there were 2 different species of salamander in my backyard. We had tremendous leaf litter that we had to protect them. So any little pockets where that might be available, that would be a valuable thing to find. Has anybody reached out? If no one has been able to do that, or maybe look on iNaturalist if somebody has caught that in the area?
That's a great point. And we also, many people suggested to check whatever people have discovered there. So I know that there's a lot of mosquito fish. These are the things that I've seen. I have not seen anything else, but I am disturbing the nature when I come in. So I don't know
Well,
if
well, there are herpetologists and which also specialize in amphibians. Um, over at Citrus College, the person who's in charge of the forestry program, he is a specialist and is often brought in by the Department of Fish and Wildlife, the U.S. Forestry, to do these assessments, and he likes to do that on his own. So do a good portion of friends. If you want to contact me offline, he would just probably hike it.
yeah.
Check it out. This is not the season when you might find amphibians easily. It's high summer.
Yeah.
But because they're downstream from the San Gabriels, this is a great opportunity for water to restore a habitat that goes down into the flatlands.
Absolutely.
Are
In their
salamanders
documents,
protected? Are they
I'm sorry?
protected? Are they protected? Any of
I
these?
do know that the western pond turtle is protected. There are some pockets of them up in the San Gabriel Mountains, in the San Bernardinos, and they do naturally, if they have an opportunity, they would come downstream if given the right conditions. I doubt that that's possible in the little pocket, but you never know, there might be something, but showing amphibians are there will show the wealth, just as Marsha was talking about, that this is an established ecosystem that
yes,
needs to be protected, and amphibians are some of the most delicate.
they're
And
they're mentioning in many of the papers that they might be this creature and that creature that are in danger, or this creature, but they have not really assessed because it's a very shallow M&D.
One of the issues with
oh,
rec
sorry.
and parks is getting them to emphasize the nature and get away from so much rec, so much recreational, which, I think they feel that keeps people busy and happy, but at the same time, we have this ecosystem issue that we seem to be losing our grasp on it.
Regarding frogs, across at the main other side of the channel, we have seen frogs, and I think if Steve Crouch is still here, he grew up right by that area, and I think he's seen frogs in there when he was a kid. And also, there are turtles in there. They're hard to photograph, turtles in the water, and someone suggests get an underwater camera because I keep taking terrible pictures of the turtles.
Well, that's where one of these herp guys would really be helpful. But the one that's the most invasive is, of course, your standard Western slider. They have the red cheeks. That's the one that kind of ends up everywhere. But if for some miraculous reason there's a Western pond turtle in there, golden. So anyway, just saying.
All right. Well, thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. We have quite a few things on the agenda, and Yael, if you could, I know you have someplace else to go, but if you could put in information, and also Terry mentioned about the Sierra Club because they're working to protect the San Gabriel Mountains. I don't know if they'd be interested in this area, but that would be interesting. I see.
Sierra said that they are not for or against. They have not formed an opinion yet.
I see. Okay. And just looking through here. Okay, I saved the chat, but I think we still need some more information about the RAP commissioners and CD.
I'm going to find it right now.
Okay,
Thank you
good.
for all the suggestion, and especially the soil. It seems very important. I'm going to add it to the presentation.
Great. Okay, good. All right, well, thank you very much. And thank you to Clara for chiming in there. And I know you folks really, there've been a lot of people at Rec and Parks. And they've been all sorts of people that seem to really appreciate this area. So I think it has quite a following and is important to a lot of people. So this is not just an isolated situation of just a few people. I think that they just didn't realize how many people actually find this area important to them. Okay, so I'm going to move to our next item. Everyone's welcome to stay. I know you have to leave, but please do put that information before you go. All right, so I'm going to move on to West LA. I'm not doing this listing that I gave you in order. So I'm going to screen share what happened in West LA this past week. Let's see, share. Okay. Go to, where is it?
So we're getting the same thing we got during the test thing. So whatever you did to fix it, there you go.
Yeah, I had to find it. That was simple. Okay. So, whoops. So I was at the aborted CFAC meeting in City Hall when I got emails and the public showed up at the meeting. We couldn't have the meeting because we were one short of quorum, and I told people not to come, but because it was just to vote on four things, but four letters. But it turned out that the public had some outcry about a project that was approved under ED1 to build tiny homes at Midvale at Pico. And I'd like you to, on the picture on the left, I'd like you to see what the eucalyptus trees look like there. These are perimeter trees. These are not all the trees. There were 20 of them, but this is one shot that was sent to me. And this tiny home project put up a fence and proceeded to take out 20 eucalyptus trees. This is the project. It's the Midvale Tiny Home Village at 2377 Midvale Avenue. And because it's under ED1, that means there is actually no due process for the trees and anything on the property. I mean, it is a parking lot, so it's not like there are structures that are going down, but there are a lot of trees, and they're not in the middle. They're edge trees. So here's one that came down, and neighbors said that their privacy was disrupted, and what was the reason for taking these out? I mean, these are 20 20 eucalyptus together could be butterfly migrations for monarchs. And so this wasn't complete on Wednesday when these pictures were taken. And these other trees that you see that are still there were due to come down the next day. And I have to tell you, I was completely at a loss as to what to do because these do not go through the tree removal process because they're not street trees or protected trees. They don't, there's just nothing in our city that says you can't take these down. However, during the campaign, I had a private conversation with Mayor Bass about parking lots being used for the homeless, and she promised me that no trees would go down. And now here we are. So I wrote to her, and the personal friend of hers who introduced me to her said that this weekend when she's back from the convention that she was going to make sure she saw my letter. And I'm also going to write to the deputy mayor for housing and homelessness. And I'm going to put her email address in the chat. I just got it this morning from one of the other deputy mayors. And I think we should write her letters about how this is really not the proper approach. If you're going to have tiny homes, that people who live in them can use the shade. I mean, this shade could have helped. These homes are made of plastic with no air conditioning. I mean, they're going to be really hot. So, you know, I think that people will utilize them in the winter, but in the summer, you know, I keep seeing the tents under trees. So this is not, you know, this is going to be completely exposed. So are there any questions beyond what I've just presented? I mean, about what I just presented? Okay. So if you know Barbara Brody, she brought this to my attention, and there were other neighbors who did not, there wasn't a way to sign in because we weren't on an official Zoom meeting, but it was just informal. But if you hear of tiny home projects, make sure that the trees in the vicinity are not removed. They said they were going to grind the stumps and put more tiny homes right where the stumps were. And that was their excuse for taking out all these trees. Okay, so
Joanne, this is Roy. I just joined in
yeah,
a little while ago. Am I clear? Is my voice clear?
yeah, your voice is fine.
Okay, well, in addition to monarchs, many, not just me, but other ornithologists have noted, in fact, the very famous Kimball Garrett, who co-authored the 500-page book, North American Warblers. And he believes that eucalyptus trees are especially important for migratory warblers and also other songbirds like vireos. And so we're talking like a guild of approximately 50 different species of warblers of northwestern North America that are nesting in Canada and the Pacific Northwest, the Sierra Nevada, and on their fall migration coming back to South America or Central America for the winter, they are spending considerable amount of time fueling up on the insects that are on the leaves and flowers of the eucalyptus trees of various species. And I think those were river red gums right there that you had in your photo. So they need to be noted for that. And because of those songbirds there, we've got two different raptors that are coming to prey on those songbirds. And that would be the American kestrel and the Cooper's hawk. So I hope I've just painted a picture of a food chain and a food web that can't be disregarded and at least needs to be analyzed and stated, you know, so that, I mean, it should trigger any kind of tree removal like eucalyptus trees when there's a number of them, whether it's on the roadside or that really triggers the check mark for needing to do a CEQA process, not just and you know, the city does have to do an internal environmental assessment, and they often will just check mark the box saying no biodiversity issue or no. Anyways, scientists just wanted to chime in, couldn't help it. And we need to look at our non-native urban trees as really important to helping native bird life in migration and also for nesting season for some species as well.
Yeah, you're right.
In addition to the monarchs that you correctly pointed out,
Um,
monarchs are using all eucalyptus trees that are of 30 feet or so in height. Monarch butterflies escape our detection. We have very little knowledge on exactly, well, we have lots of knowledge that they prefer eucalyptus trees and conifers like junipers and pine trees for sleeping at night. And they may not be the monarch, they may not be the areas where eucalyptus trees are famous for having thousands of monarchs, but in urban LA, you can have 3 or 4 or up to, a dozen or so monarchs spending the night in the tree, and people don't know it, and they're there. I mean, no monarch sleeps on the ground. They're always in trees at night, and they leave scent marks, and the other monarchs can tell if it's been used for others to roost in for the night. So it's a lot more, there's just a lot that escapes our city government and government in general. And we all know that we don't really have biologists in the city of LA government agencies, except at Bureau of Sanitation. They have a lot of marine biologists and some land biologists for the sewage treatment plant, ecology, environmental analysis, but we're really, I mean, Karen Bash should have at her right hand a city biologist that she can, that person can chime into her to warn her on all kinds of things happening. But all right, I was
No, I
long-winded.
actually spoke to her and she said, what do we need biology for? So, it's like, she really doesn't come from this. I mean, many of us thought it was bad under Garcetti and it's only gotten worse. So,
Yeah, and when I said a city biologist, that might mean we get a botanist, and they're not going to be too helpful. A tree specialist can't be, a tree botanist isn't going to be too helpful for zoology questions. And so maybe it needs to be a city zoologist and a city botanist both, and a city entomologist. I mean, there's a whole cadre of specialist scientists she should have as a panel, that she can, because, yeah, okay.
yes. And also she's trying to dismantle the biodiversity directive and the LA Sands Biodiversity Department, which are the only science people that well, I won't say the only, we do have Courtney at Rec and Parks, but that they were the LA Sam were the leaders in getting this biodiversity project done and approved by city council. And it started with Koretz, who was, approached by people of science like Travis Longcore, who said we really have to pay attention to ecology. And that seems to be just going downhill instead of, increasing. So,
Well, yeah, Travis is a good example you brought up, Joanne. He's very knowledgeable. He's an expert, but he has his own biases. He's not in favor of non-native trees, even if they're important for native wildlife. And that's an issue, he's a good scientist. I didn't say he's a bad scientist. I just said that you have to, even with scientists, you have biases that are certain directions. And in an urban ecology, an urban ecosystem as we are in LA, we can advocate for native trees, and we should, but we can't just go out and remove non-native trees.
I don't think he's for that. I have talked to some of his cohorts and to him, and I think not to him about this specifically, but I know that people that are his followers, like Diana Nicole, totally understand the need for eucalyptus trees. We have fought for them at the Board of Public Works together, and
Yeah.
and other non-natives besides eucalyptus. They're not the only ones, but yeah, that they're here. They get utilized. I mean, in terms of planting, we'd like to see more natives planted because we have such a shortage of them in this city.
Yeah, there's a Cal State LA professor, biologist, ornithologist. I can't recall his name, but he's had some of his graduate students, and he advocates for the non-native ornamental trees that are important for wildlife.
Yeah, I
And
know.
they're doing an evaluation of several areas in the
Yeah, I'm trying to
city.
remember his name. I know who you mean exactly. But I'm having a senior moment. Okay.
Eric Wood.
Eric Wood. Thank you, Isabel. Yes, it takes a village. So yeah, Eric Wood and his students have been doing a lot of that, and they've noticed the importance of liquid amber trees, for example, especially the taller trees for the raptors, and as Yael pointed out, the
Yeah, and
palm.
camphor, the cinnamon tree or camphor tree,
Yeah.
their black fruits are very edible to all the migratory thrushes. That includes a robin is a thrush, a bluebird is a thrush, and also some non-thrushes like cedar waxwings that are in migration. Those trees, you know, you start pruning, so getting into pruning. When you prune a tree, it shocks the tree, so it's not going to have flowers or fruits for the next several years. And then you mess everything up, you know, because the tree has to go into survivorship mode when it gets pruned rather than reproduction mode for the next year.
Right.
Um, so there's these things are not rocket science, but they escape many even scientists' understanding if they haven't really worked in the interdisciplinary intersection of zoology and botany or ornithology and botany. Many ornithologists can't identify trees. You know, they know the birds, but they don't understand
No,
any.
it's complicated. I mean, you really need someone who's involved with the whole ecosystem, you know, an environmental ecologist would be helpful for starters. Okay, thanks, everybody. This was, I think, valuable to talk about this. And bear in mind those pictures when we get on to our last item, but in between, I feel I have to do this demonstration of UFD's new tree removal notification system, which I don't know. Have any of you tried it yet? Have any of you gone on to their site? I don't see any hands. Okay. All right. So I'm going to screen share and try and do this live demo. So bear with me here. I need a fresh Google page. Let's see. I want to do this from as if you were just getting on your computer and had to find this. Let's see. Oh, thought I had one set up, but the screen share is not finding it. Let me set up a new one. Let's see. Tried to be prepared for this, but let's see. Here it is. Not coming up. Okay. Okay, here it is. Okay. All right. Okay. So you see a Google page, right? Everybody? Okay. So I'm gonna go to Streets LA, which is the old Bureau of Street Services, and then I'm gonna put in urban forestry. So we get this page. And if you scroll down past the person hacking away at the tree, you'll see this gray box. And the last item is the tree removal notification list. So this is how much you need to know to find this. Streets LA, urban forestry, and then you have to go to this last one. And let's see if this comes up. Okay. So this is the new, I'm no longer putting them on the NCSA site because this information, except for the picture, is all there. So they've been posting these since July. Also, you see how this moves? This is very annoying. So what you have to do is if you're going towards the bottom, you have to park it at the top of your screen like this, and then you can scroll down without it jumping around. So I'm scrolling all the way down to when this all started. It started, the first one they have, they actually didn't start this till June, but there's an old April one that probably went through late and they put it in. But so when you have these, I'm going to go all the way up. You'll see what information they give you. They give you the date of the website posting. This must have been an experiment because he called me right in April. Brian Ramirez called me and asked me if he could do this. And I said, well, let's try it. But I still think you need to notify by email when there is one. But they have not accepted that suggestion, but they have tried this. So he puts the address of where the tree removal is. He puts the council district. He actually puts the neighborhood council down, which he didn't used to do on those white papers if you ever saw the tree removal request notices. This is very valuable. This is the site of these two trees that there are two trees proposed for removal. And this is the site numbers on the inventory, the tree inventory. So the tree inventory right now is not just street trees, but every time they inspect a tree that's not a street tree, but is a protected tree, they're putting it on the street tree inventory. I don't know what the SR number is. They'll say how many, and it'll give you the species, both with the Latin name and with the common name, the reason for it, grading for new structure, and it came through LADBS, which means this is a by right project, but they still have to apply for tree removals. There are 6 other adjacent trees, protected trees that they're preserving. This means that urban forestry inspected and understood that 6 trees would get fencing protection. There's no tree well like street tree, so that's not applicable. And then they're going to replace with 8 because it's 4-to-1 with the protected tree, 24-inch box size, which is what we're recommending and what urban forestry does. And then they'll be replaced with coast live oaks. And the address where they're replacing them is listed here. You can check back and see if it was the same address, and it is. And then there's no permit fee for tree guarantee fee or any inspection fee. There's just an application fee with a protected tree. And there's an application fee, inspection fee. It's still under review. It hasn't been approved, so you could still object. And that was reviewed by Brian Ramirez, and that's always at lacity.org. And if you wanted to challenge or in the case of a non-protected tree, but a street tree, you can look at what their choice is for in this case, it's an Australian willow. So if you had an objection to that, you could contact Brian and let him know that you object to the choice of tree. So, and you can have it out with him. So this is what they're doing now. It's all, the council districts are there, the neighborhood council districts are there. You just have to be willing to move around with this. Now, if I'm going up and I don't want it to do this, I have to park it down below and then it'll stop jiggling. So I'm going to show you how to use these TK8, that's Tree Keeper 8, tree inventory numbers, so that you can find these trees. By the way, it's not always Brian. Sometimes there are other people like Albert Vera. And I don't know why Luis Torres is not entering his. He's the sidewalk repair program. And see, this is sidewalk repair, not sidewalk repair program. So I'm going to do a quick use of the inventory. I'm going to use, I guess I could pretty much pick any one of them, but so let's do, I tested one last night and I think they've added since then. But it shouldn't matter which one we do, I guess. Let's see. All right. This one. So what you need to do is you need to know the address. You can't cut and paste it, unfortunately. So 24050 Jensen Drive, okay? So then we're gonna need to go to Tree Keeper 8. And the way to get to that is I just go LA Street Tree Inventory, and I get to it that way. All right, so click on that. Okay, you all see that? See a picture of Rachel, the city forest officer? And then you scroll down to get to the inventory and it says explore the inventory of trees on streets and parks. So you select that. And it'll take a while for this to come up. And when it first comes up, you can't use it right away. You have to, it says benefits are loading, please wait. And you really do have to wait. And while it's doing that, what was that address that we wanted? We wanted 24050 Jensen Drive. Okay. And this takes a bit. I usually do something else while I'm waiting for these benefits to load. I mean, it's great that we have them. And all of these green diamond shapes are trees. Obviously, it's not to size, it's not to scale. But you will be able to zoom in on it. And once you get the address, it'll take you to the right place on the map. As long as you haven't been too impatient, you waited for all these benefits to load. Okay, so you see all the benefits, and there's 799,000 trees, and it's increased since they've started adding the protected trees. They really should keep them separate because they're not street trees, but they don't. So, all right, so that's, let's see, I gotta type it in. So it's 24050 Jensen Drive. Okay, then you do search. And you see those binoculars here, right in the middle? That's where the tree is. So to zoom in on it, you'll need to use this plus sign. And you just keep going, zooming in until you see the property lines around it. If it's a street tree, it would show them on the street. These are when they're blue, they're empty sites. So vacant sites for trees. So these would be street trees, but they're vacant sites, so they're missing. So looking at this, you need that number that we saw on that removal notification. So the number of the tree that they're taking out is, one of the things that I do is I just get the last four usually are enough. 7971. Okay, so I go back to this and I start clicking on these till 7971 at the end comes up. So that would be this. So this is 1168. Did I get the wrong number? I think I did. I think ours is 1168. Let's go back again. Okay, so TK8, I'm sorry, I used this one. This SR number confuses me. So this is the one we want, 404-1168, okay? That's the TK8 ID. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Okay, 1168. So here, it's 1168 at the end, 404-1168. So here's where you get your picture, because it's a black walnut tree. You're going to go to the picture and you'll get an aerial picture. It's right here. And then you'll get a Google Map picture, and you need to enlarge it. And you can see the black walnut tree. It's a really big one. So that's apparently in their way. You can question it if you want. I think one of the things about urban forestry, and then you get out of this, you have to go do this up in the corner. And they say they're saving some trees. So you can actually see the trees that they're saving by going to the other trees. You can close this, get back to the map, and you can see the trees that they are not removing. So apparently this is in the way of this driveway that they want to do. But this one, this coast live oak, they're not taking out. You can see a picture of that. Why is it? It must be in the same shot somewhere. Oh, it's down here. Gosh, let's look at that again. Boy. Wow. I sure don't see it. I don't know. It's supposed to be a milk and a walnut. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go back again. Close this. And check on one of the other ones. It could be there aren't enough pictures here. Yeah, they seem to be thinking.
Well, that is interesting.
Yeah, this is interesting. So up here, you can see the little green things, but they only took one picture. They only took a picture of the tree that's being removed, but you have the aerial picture of the other trees. So,
I don't think it's a picture they took. I think it's a picture just from Google from the street.
it's Google Earth, actually. It's an aerial Google Earth picture that they took. This one may be a picture from the street. You're right, Isabel. This
It
one.
says Google on it, so it's just the street view.
That's right. So it's probably a street view. Sometimes you do get a better picture of them, but usually that's all they use is Google. So you're right.
So there are no eyes on the tree that's supposed to be there, because if that there is the tree closest to the street, what we see right in that picture is the one that you just sampled, which is the one closest to the street. That is the one. But
this
so
one.
the black oak, which lays way behind it, you cannot see.
Right. Yeah. No, this isn't adequate. So what I suggest is if this is in your vicinity, that you go there and you try to check it out. I mean, there might be construction fences by now, but that's the other problem. But I think you can ask urban forestry if they took any pictures on site, because you can say that these are not adequate. sometimes they are identifiable, but this is a good case. I'm actually glad we did this one because it shows that on protected trees, it's not accurate enough. I mean, it is very accurate on street trees. It is much better than what we ever had because we asked for these numbers, these remote ID numbers. No, not the remote ID, sorry, the streets LA numbers. So it's the shortest number. And these are the ones that they use to refer to the tree. These remote ID numbers are the numbers that were given by the people that did the street inventory. And I think one of them is on this call if he's still here, Patrick. And these numbers have to do with when the tree was inventoried, that they're code for that. So I don't know if you want to chime in at all, Patrick, about this, but if you're here still. Okay.
I do have a question. So since protected trees aren't inventoried, those 4 protected trees on that map that you showed us, those were only located once urban forestry went out to the site to review the permit request. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I don't understand why they couldn't take pictures. I mean, why they didn't take pictures of each protected tree, right? If they're out there, I mean, everybody has a phone in their pocket. Why not, you know? So that's a concern to me.
Absolutely. I think that's an excellent point because how else are you going to know if those trees eventually get removed or replaced
Right,
with something smaller?
right.
Because of the long life of a tree, I hope that can be added to a request. I mean,
Well,
perhaps that should
actually,
be a letter.
I suggest everyone come to the next CFAC meeting because tentatively David Miranda, the head of urban forestry, is going to be there, and he's not presenting. He's just going to do Q&A. So I think this is our opportunity, and I'm leaving plenty of room for public comment on that one. And I know he doesn't have to take questions from the public, but I think he will. I mean, we had a request not to at the last meeting, but I think it was Rec and Parks, and there was
Might I suggest, Joanne, that maybe we circulate a request for questions ahead of time so we could give him questions? This way he doesn't feel blindsided, but he could potentially prepare to answer some tough questions.
Okay, I can do that with CFAC members. I can do it with Trees Committee members. If you're not on the Trees Committee list, then make sure you email me at trees@ncsa.la to send me any questions you have for David.
Well, that would be the first one. Can your staff take pictures of protected trees when they're visiting a site and load it on the tree
Yes.
inventory?
Yes, I just made a note of that.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Silva.
Okay, I understand that the Department of City Planning is now, or they are requiring, a tree inventory as part of their process for approving project.
It's a tree disclosure form.
It's tree disclosure form, that's correct. Thank you.
Mhm.
Right, and so the tree disclosure form would be an opportunity. I've seen the form, but I don't recall what's in it. But it's a heck of a lot more information than I've
It's
ever
pretty
seen.
simple.
It's simple, but it's more information than I've ever seen required for something like that. And then there's a tree, what did you call it?
The tree
What did you call
disclosure,
it?
the tree disclosure form.
Disclosure. And then
This is it. Okay.
Then-
And it's really mainly to find out if there are any protected trees, as you can see, property address, date of visit, and
but it's supposed to show everything. See, it shows everything. It's
no,
on
it
the
only
side.
adds these eucalyptus trees. That's it. It's just the protected
But
tree.
maybe that's all that's there. I don't know. Anyway,
No, that's
it's
all
all-
they're asking for. That's all they're
Okay,
asking.
Glenn, my point is, I don't want to go into this form, but my point is, this is an opportunity to get more information. And it's something that city planning is requiring, I understand. And then the next thing after this is that they're requiring a tree report from
Right.
some, which may be a tree expert, which that has a very tight definition of what a tree expert is.
Right, exactly. Now, to clarify, that there is, after this came from the city forest officer, and this was just an attempt to make sure that the protected trees and the eucalyptus trees were not getting overlooked. Secondly, and interestingly, I guess ED1 doesn't do this because those eucalyptus trees should have been accounted for at that Midvale project. And then one of I think what Silva's driving at is that the planning department actually requires a tree report with pictures, and that has to include significant trees. And in that case, that's 12 inches diameter, 4.5 feet up, DBH, so that those trees actually are supposed to be, they can negotiate to replace those 1-to-1. The planning department is supposed to do that. They don't always do it, but they have the ability to ask for that. So that's beyond this statement. This statement isn't even signed by the tree expert, arborist, whatever. So that's a concern. We've been asking to have a signature put on this because it's only the signature of the owner. I think that whoever is the expert has to stand by it. And they're saying that the expert would be a certified arborist who holds a license as a pest control advisor, a licensed landscape architect, or Society of Consulting Arborists. So, but all of them are arborists. So those are the experts. But I know this could be more. And then the tree report is this. And it's more detailed.
That's more of a template.
Yeah, this is a template
And all these points.
and they have to have pictures and so forth. This tells them what needs to go into the tree report. And so as you can see, they're asking for a lot.
I've been asking for that for 30 years. So it's nice to see something.
Yeah.
Joanna, I'm sorry, I can't find the raised hand. I had a comment. Do you mind if I make it now?
Go for it.
I'd like to ask somebody from planning when the tree disclosure form is utilized, because I just got a permit to do a new house and an ADU in Venice, and I wasn't required to fill out this form. They did, which was weird. They did ask us to take a picture of the parkway to, I guess, to verify that we weren't impacting any trees, any street trees. But they did not have us fill out that form. So
But is
I'm
the
wondering,
project, yeah, is Project Bry right?
yes.
Yeah, that's why. That's why. By right projects don't need to do this. And
Oh,
I mean, and that's all single family homes are by right. They don't go really technically through the planning department process. And
that explains that.
yeah, and we've been trying to get LADBS to do these tree disclosure forms, and they say no because there's no code. There's no code requiring it. So if there were code, they said we can't deny a permit to somebody just because they didn't fill out a tree disclosure form because there's no code requiring them to fill it out. So and to get code, we have, see, I think that's why it has to go into the urban forestry management plan, because if we try to do it through city council, we'll just get into report backs. But if Rachel puts it in the urban forestry management plan, then her plan is going to become code. So that would be the place
So
to
we
do
say,
it.
so we hear.
What?
I said, so we hear.
Yeah,
And
and just to report on that urban forestry management plan, this is interesting. I spoke to Rachel on Wednesday, and she said that she has been taking the sort of skeleton ideas of the UFMP council office by council office and having meetings. And she's been getting great support and they told her to do more rather than less and to ask for the money and to that this is their opportunity to get it. So she was feeling very positive about that. And I mean, if that's the case, if they think this is the time to get all the tree stuff done, then really we should support her to go as expansive as possible with this. And
the idea is to get more code that requires these things. I say I'm all for it. If it's just more whoop-de-doo and like it's up to you if you want to do it or not. That's not good enough.
well, I think that she's putting in enforcement, so that's going to cost money, and she's putting it in. So let's see what happens. I mean,
enforcement without a code to enforce is.
but it is going to be code. The UFMP will become code. Anything in it is going to become code. So anything that's requested to be code will be.
How are you so sure about that?
Well, I mean, that's the plan. I mean, whether the plan goes through, I can't be sure of that. But it will have to get approved by city council, and anything that's indicated as code will be code. The thing is this, the UFMP is a report, and it's a report to end all reports, because what happens is city council asks for a report that has been approved by all these different departments, or at least gotten input from all these different city departments. And Rachel has done that. She's gone to departments. She's gone and done outreach to the public. She's sort of crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's with more patience than I would ever have. So, I mean, it's our only hope. It's like Star Wars. It's our only hope. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then, we're in trouble. I mean, really, because the very first thing that was told to me when I became a tree advocate was, we'll get nowhere unless we have an urban forestry management plan. And this plan is supposed to be it. And it's what we'll have to march to in the future. The city will have to march to. And obviously codes get violated. I mean, there's a code that says that every single family home is supposed to have a tree in their front yard. And does it? I mean, people, they may start out with a tree, but people remove it. When I go to the planning hearings and say there's no tree in the front yard, they said, yeah, we know it's code, but they don't enforce it. They don't have a mechanism they don't have the appetite to enforce it. So in that case, you're right. If they don't have the appetite to enforce, it is only worth the paper it's on. So I have one more item to cover, and we have about a half hour left. So I'd like to move on to that, unless there are any other comments on this one. I'm going to stay in screen share, and let's see if I can get to where, well, maybe I have to go start again to get to the other pictures I have. Yeah, I think I have to go to another desktop. So let's see if I can get to, I don't think that's going to get me there. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and then start a share again and see if I can, we'll deal with the postcard. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's see. All right. So we've been thinking about a number of things, and one of the restrictions we've been given by the NCSA was that any pictures of trees on the postcard have to be in Los Angeles. And so I conferred with Isabel, and she felt that we should have a line of trees that are a positive image. And I originally was going to start with a cut down tree. So that we both came from different, and I asked Isabel because she's an artist, and I and also Charles came up with the idea of having a native line of, beautiful street trees. So unfortunately, the picture he had was not in Los Angeles. So I took this picture this morning, and these are oak trees, coast live oak trees at North Hollywood High School with better lighting. The sun went behind the clouds when I took this picture. With better lighting, they look like this. We can't use this tree because it's lifting the sidewalk. It's the only one in this line of trees that is, and it's 260, maybe 270 years old. It was researched because this line of trees were designated historic. And what I think is interesting about this picture, I mean, I can get this kind of lighting when the sun is on the trees, and it's this tree right here. So, but the sun went behind the clouds when I took this wider shot. I was walking along, and then I took this from across the street, and by then I got the shot I wanted, but it's still not as pretty as it will be when I take it on another day. But what's interesting to me is, because these streets are historic, there is major construction going on at North Hollywood High School, and there's a fence for the construction, and yet there's no damage to the trees. The trees have been, they've been trimmed by urban forestry, but in order to trim a historic tree, they have to be very careful. They're not allowed to thin it too much, that everything, so these are kind of, to me, exemplary. They're native, they're surviving construction, and they're showing the city that this is possible. So I would like to caption this or super over this on the front of the postcard. Oops. These oak trees were designated historic and won't be cut down. But what about the other LA trees? Now, we can also try to put something in there that they won't be cut down, even though there's construction. That's a thought. And that just came to me after I did this shot. Then on the other side, I'd like to put that it's 30 degrees cooler under a tree, I'm sorry. Yet LA tree canopy decreased 50% since 2000. And here's the statistic is on Global Forest Watch. It's only getting worse as heat increases. And then I want to leave a space, and then we have a list of asks that we want to give out with the postcard, and I'm willing to take input on that today. I'm willing to take input on any of this, but I'll show you the list of asks. And then this postcard goes to the mayor, so will you reverse this tree loss? I mean, we can also decide whether we want to send it to city council also, but for now we're sending it because we can address it easily to the mayor, and so people don't have to look up who their city council person is. So these asks that the people could write in, there's some examples. Asking the mayor to work to preserve trees on all construction projects. You can read this. Is not tree equity to skip tree consideration on ED1 projects. Tiny homes need shade too. Don't cut down the trees. Require building around trees wherever possible. So you can't put them all on one postcard, but people could select which ones. demolitions clear cut all the trees, require a tree report before issuing a permit. Crack down on single family illegal front yard paving that eliminates the required tree. Put a lien on the property for the true value of the tree if illegally removed. That would be probably the street tree. And then institute a banner and advertising campaign to preserve and water trees and promote native tree planting. So I'm going to leave this now open to everyone to, I'm going to leave this up so that you can, there aren't too many places like this, to get a tree picture. I have two different views of it. So any comments? Okay, Gwen, go for it.
Okay, Joanne, I have a couple of things to say.
Go.
I'm wondering if maybe for some of the statements there could be more relevance to an average person. I will honestly say that I have two. They're fairly unredeemable Brazilian pepper trees, except for one thing. They shade my home in such a way that I save hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. Is there a way to phrase it that a tiny home will save hundreds of dollars in air conditioning costs from a tree, from a shade tree on the home or something of that nature?
Yeah, these are asks of the mayor. So,
Right, well, then it's energy costs. It's
yeah, promote trees as saving energy, air conditioning energy costs, right?
yeah. Anyway, the reason these postcards are going to be handed out to people, and even though it's going to go to the mayor, you want to have some kind of relevance that they connect with immediately and say, oh yeah, I'm sending this. So
I'll put that in. That's a good one. I think that's a great one. I just did these off the top of my head in like 10 minutes. So, believe me, I didn't get, there should be, you should have suggestions because I didn't really try to cover all the bases. And these are being given out at the Congress to people from neighborhood councils to try to pass out to their neighborhood councils. People will have to put a first-class stamp on it.
Joanne, I have a couple of things to say, and it's not about anything in the message.
Okay, well, Charles was next. Let me come to you third, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Hold the thought. Okay, Charles, go.
I would I'd really like to see us not not be scientifically imprecise with respect to the temperature claim. The ambient temperature under a shade tree is the exact same temperature as the air outside of a shade tree. It's the surfaces that the shade is landing upon that are affected. And so when in the original draft you had sent me, I changed the language to it can feel 30 degrees cooler. So I think we're safer on that kind of claim, or what I would prefer is instead language that says something like trees are the most cost-effective measure for addressing urban heat island effect, which I think is 100% accurate, and maybe it's too technical for people. I don't know, but I'd just like to not make claims that I know are scientifically imprecise.
Okay. Yeah, I have one side of my house in the sun and one side in the shade, and I can feel a huge difference.
Oh, yeah, of course you can feel it. That's, yeah. And surfaces heat up reflecting the temperature are reflecting the sunlight. That's absolutely true and demonstrable. I'm just saying that it's not technically 30 degrees cooler under a tree.
Did I send you Shelley's picture that she took? Because she doesn't have it on the surface. She actually is holding the heat thermometer in the air, and it's at the sidewalk and then under the ficus tree.
Scientist? I
But
think
anyway, if it's that controversial, I don't want to put it. So we can put other things. I mean, we can say it, the trees are the most cost-effective shade producer or cooling.
I mean, there's lots of studies that have been done on this stuff, so no need to wing it.
Okay, no studies. Go ahead, Silva. I mean,
Okay, I'm throwing that out there. But what I'd like to speak to is the postcard itself, because my son was in the direct mail business and he taught me a couple of things.
Okay.
One of which is, as far as the size of the postcard, you have to make sure that it's okay with the post office, the size you're sending out. You can send out any size you want, but it's going to cost more money.
Yeah,
if you
Charles
do-
is on that. We're debating.
Okay, well, can I finish my sentence?
Sure, yeah, I just want
Deviate
you, yeah, we're on it.
from- For a particular stamp to be on there, if you deviate from the size, the post office will mail something for that particular size of postcard. It's gonna cost more money. So I suggest that we stick to something that's easy for people to put just a regular postcard stamp on it.
Well,
and send it.
do people have postcard stamps these days? Because I sure don't. I mean, I have first class stamps, so I would be putting a first class.
That you considered that, that's all I'm saying. The other thing is,
I
I'm
was
gonna-
thinking we would just say, put a first class stamp.
I don't want to decide, I would like to just finish my list.
Go
The postcard that was used in the city of West Hollywood. It's shiny on one side, it has a picture of a tree. This was for a whole different reason of what you're doing, but this is a shiny postcard. And on the back side is a place for the person who's mailing it,
That's what we're gonna do, yeah,
who's mailing it, to put their name.
right. And that postcard in your hand is oversized.
No, it may look like that here,
4 by
but I don't
6
think it.
4 by 6 is postcard size.
Joanne, you can double check everything I'm saying. I'm
Okay,
pointing out something different here. There's a place for them to put their name.
yeah, we're
And,
gonna do that. We're gonna do that. Place for name.
okay, wait a second.
Yeah.
But the main thing is, this part is not, it's not shiny. It doesn't have shellac on it. So it's easy for somebody to write on.
That's a good
And
point.
the other thing is, this was sent to Dear City Council, and the city of West Hollywood decided they were going to reject these because you didn't name the city council person's name. If you were sending it to the mayor, then we should skip over that rejection for distributing it.
Yep,
So
that's why. Yep, that's why we didn't do city council. That's a good point.
Yeah, so this is, and the other thing is, we were using a volunteer designer, and she didn't want to leave any room for anybody to write anything. But I think it's very powerful if you leave a little space for this, for mailing it, to write something.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that's why we have the asks, because we're going to leave a space for the before the signature, between the last thing we say. Now, the question that I want to open up to this group is whether we want a little picture of a cut down tree, like one of those eucalyptuses at Midvale. I mean, I think it would be powerful to have a small picture, very small picture in the corner of the bottom of the dull side, even though it's not on the slick side, a small picture of the cut tree, because that is a tree that got cut for construction. And I think that's the point.
I would say, I'm gonna finish off by saying,
Go ahead.
I would say if it requires shellac to be put on the backside so that a person can't write on it.
Right. I think that's a great point. We should have it be dull on the backside. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Okay.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah, thank you. Those are really good ideas. Thank you, Silva. I'm going to put in a plug that Silva was one of the first CFAC members, and she's an arborist and she does know her stuff. So, okay. Any
I
other?
just, I feel like the, well, I'm worried that we're gonna get boggled down in a lot of language when really what we're trying to say is, Mayor, God damn it, do something, like take action, say something, make trees important, make them valuable, make them, make change. You have to do something, you figure it out. I'm just worried that we're gonna start dumping all this language. I mean, by now everybody understands the value of trees. We don't need to educate the mayor about that. We need her to make sure that the rest of her city gets the message, you know, and she has to. So I don't know exactly what it is we're asking her to do, other than be a leader and take trees as one of her, you know, as seriously as she takes some of the other issues, or, you know, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm worried that she's just, like I said in my chat, I'm worried she's gonna say, oh yeah, we've hired Rachel, so we're taking care of that. Oh yeah, you know, we've given whatever, some silly little thing to some silly little group, they're planting trees in equity neighborhoods, you know. We're not really giving her the big message, which is we want her to make this a tree city and take trees really seriously.
You know, she told me that, and when I met her in the campaign, that she, you know, and she's not lived up to it. So I mean, and then people I ran it by a few people and they said it's not specific enough. You know, you have to have specific asks. So we can't fit much on a postcard. And I think we should allow people to make their own message. I think that it could be one of the messages could be make trees important, you know, and let people have a choice of what their particular concern is, because I would like her, she's going to get hopefully 1,000 postcards, and if they all have different messages, she's going to realize that there's a huge problem out there, because everybody has a different gripe or message or ask, or you know, whatever it is. I mean, it just seems like a lot of people need to have a place to put something down, and that's why I really am adamant about having a space. And then it was suggested to me that we should have a list of things that, you know, maybe the list is too long or so. I mean, we
taking
can.
up too much space. And you know, in my, I'm sorry, I'm busting in. You know, over 30 years, I've heard every excuse in the book from the city entities that are supposed to be watching over different aspects of, oh, we are a tree city, USA. We're this, we have, LA San is handling that. Oh, the Bureau of Engineering has statistics, they have rules, building and safeties, watching over things. Oh, the city of we have a enforcement division, bicyclists riding around with their badges and stuff.
Okay.
We're doing all that stuff.
Well,
you know,
actually, those guys do not do tree stuff unless the tree is it's very obvious, like the tree is growing into the sidewalk.
They're enforcement over something else. But I'm just saying, using that as an example, they all have their elbows out saying, we're doing that, we're doing that. But how come we're not seeing the results on the street?
Right. And actually, you know, one of the things could be support the UFMP or fund urban forestry. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can put there. Nobody's going to put them all because there's no room on the postcard, but these will be choices. We'll give a sheet of paper and people can choose whichever one they want to put with the postcard. So, you know, and so she'll get lots of different ones. Gwen has her hand up, so I'm going to go to her.
Oh, well, now I've lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
QR code.
Well, no, I had another comment even prior to that. I just feel that the card needs to appeal to people, be simple enough where they send it in. Oh, now I remember what it is. And this is key. She just came back with the Olympic torch. I don't know how much it could be impressed that when the world comes to Los Angeles, do we want to show a city naked of trees?
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to be the sustainable capital of, of California is supposed to be the leader in this. And I don't think Los Angeles is going to be a good example if it continues in the direction it is. You might even want to, the thing about the QR code, why can't the QR code even go to that's actually on the card, go to an infographic or a video that's almost a documentary and a plea to her. Now this is a little bit of Olympic history. Avalon Boulevard, running through Wilmington, they planted a colonnade of palm trees for the 1924 Olympics. That still exists. It's kind of in poor condition. Bad choice, but they were looking at trees as being a symbol of and a welcoming thing for people to see. And I don't know if that had occurred in other parts of the country, but we might want to talk about that she's got 4 years to plant trees to welcome the world. And there should be a comparison to Paris.
Well, the problem is that she only has 4 years because she didn't start when we got the Olympics. Paris started and planted 400 trees on the Seine as soon as they got the Olympics.
Absolutely.
And we, 4-year-old trees, by the time this gets through city council, there's going to be a bunch of little saplings if we're lucky, that'll be about 4 feet high because they'll be planted, 2 years from now, because that's how long it'll take to get it approved. I just think that asking for planting is kind of almost too late, but to not cut down more. Think about where the mayor lives. I wrote her a letter this week about the eucalyptus trees, and I said, imagine on your street, because she lives in Hancock Park, right in the mayor's mansion.
Yeah.
She gets out. I said, imagine if 20 trees, when you walk out your door, were cut down tomorrow. What would your neighborhood feel like? I wrote that to her the other night. And my friend said she's going to give her the letter. I wrote it to her email address, but then my friend sent it to her private email address, and she said she's going to see her in person this weekend. So she's going to try and get her to read the letter. Typically in me, it's a little long, but it's 1 page. And, she should understand that what 20 trees removed from your neighborhood feels like, 20 big trees. And if we keep doing that, that's why construction sites, this is about construction sites should not be taking out trees. These trees stayed on that street, Now, admittedly, there's no street lights in front of that school. They're all on the opposite side of the street. But interestingly, the opposite side of that street is full of magnolia trees, and it has street lights. So it's not like you can't have both. But they built a new building across the street from the school, not one street tree, not one. So
Joanne, this is Roy. Am I sounding okay, clear again?
okay.
Okay, that's wonderful. That I respect you so much for getting that letter to the mayor and using your friend to get it to her, and using that example of those 20 trees being gone. There's 2 parts to that. 20 trees on the private properties next to her, including on the mayor's mansion. No, that's public land. On all the houses adjacent to that would look just as bad if they're gone as if the 20 street trees are gone. And we don't have a way yet to really protect trees on private property. So I think one message to the mayor somehow is she's probably not grasping that concept completely, or she probably will have a knee-jerk reaction saying, I can't say anything about the trees on private property. But it needs to start to get out there that we need to have a way to regulate private property owners' trees.
And
That's
I
one
did,
thing.
right, and I
And
didn't
the
use the
second,
word street trees, so just so you know.
right.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
And then the second thing is safety leading into liability. If you get down to it and you start talking to people, that is kind of what it always comes down to. And it's sometimes hidden and masked. They might say the tree is diseased, or they might say the tree is bulging up the sidewalk, but they haven't said the real reason, which is safety leading to liability. We have to have a way where the mayor, or maybe with the city attorney, we have to find a way to get past, to get that out there, and that there is a way to make all trees safe and not a liability by not by removing them, but um, this example won't apply anywhere, everywhere, but in an open field of an open space area, up in an open field of a park, if a tree falls, there's a safety and liability issue of people picnicking under the tree, and it falls if they're having a picnic, worst case scenario. Uh, but something I've been trying to teach and getting feedback is that when a tree falls, that you can map the perimeter of where the farthest branches will reach when it falls in any compass direction. You could have a perimeter fence at that farthest point so that there's no way anybody would get hurt if the tree falls. Usually you have a half an hour awareness where a tree starts cracking if it's going to fall. You have some time. Sometimes it's several days of, but anyways, we need to have a way that this doesn't apply to street trees, but in the case of open field trees and trees that are in the middle of, out in the open, we need a way that we teach that when those trees fall, the carbon, nothing has lost in terms of carbon storage. The carbon is still stored for centuries after the tree falls, or even if it's still standing, the tree might even not have fallen, it's still standing, and it takes a decade or more for the tree to fall. We don't wait. The government wants to get out on parklands and take those trees away. They're a safety, they're a hazard, they're a liability issue, but they're a zero safety, zero liability if there's a perimeter fence and you put no entry beyond the fence, and you have that, use that entire fence line that goes around as a massive education project with other signages about the ecology. The tree is dead, but it has all this positive value for hawks and owls now to land on it, to be on it. The woodpeckers now want to use the tree because it's dead, and that then allows for bluebirds and other birds and chipmunks and other and little but hummingbirds like to sleep in tree holes that woodpeckers have made, and all this, and then you do this massive education about that. Look how much carbon is stored here, and it'll stay stored if we cut it down, even though it's dead, or if it's fallen and we remove it. The carbon is not stored. Once you start chopping it up into small pieces, you are accelerating the loss of that carbon to become decomposed by fungi, then that becomes carbon in the atmosphere as carbon. And anyways, then you
Really,
you
we're
accelerate.
running out
You
of time.
accelerate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're running out
But
of time.
that's real good. That's
No,
real good science. It's
I
real
think
good
that,
conservation.
right, and actually in the Sepulveda Basin, there are a lot of dead trees that bird watchers took a bird watching tour, and that's exactly where we went and saw the dead trees. And I think, can't remember if it was a fire or something, but that they left the dead trees, and it is very interesting. But I think on the right away, that's a problem because they're worried that it'll fall on a car or something like that. But yeah, I think in an area where it's not going to fall on anybody, it is an interesting idea. So back to the postcard. I did see in the chat that people did indicate that we should have the points very easy to copy, and I think we'll do that. Obviously, we don't expect everybody to write all the points. We want to pick one. I didn't put the instructions, pick pick what make, you know, what you want to say, pick one of these. And that's what I think we should do, is just give out a sheet and I don't think people are going to actually send the postcard at the event unless, but they could. I mean, I could maybe get some stamps and try to see if
A
people
box.
a box. They could put them in and we'll stamp them. Yeah, I mean, otherwise they have to take them away. I don't want to put stamps on ahead unless I know for sure it's going in, it's signed and so forth. So we will have a place for a signature. And if they want to put an organization name, I'll put 2 lines so they can sign it and put at least the area.
Leave more space for them to write.
What?
Leave more space for them to write. Just my advice.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of space. There'll be a lot of space. I didn't show a mock-up on purpose because we don't have one yet. I wanted to get input before we make a mock-up. I mean, Charles was going to make one this morning, and I told him to hold off till we heard from everybody. So we've run out of time, and I think it's a beautiful day. Let me end this on time. You feel free to email me if you have any further comments. I have saved the chat. And I appreciate all of you coming. This was kind of a packed meeting and I didn't have a lot of time for comment. Is there anybody that has a last comment about something we didn't cover or question? Okay, so I'm going to let everybody go enjoy the rest of their day. And oh, Terry, go ahead. No, you just were, you were just acknowledging. Good. Okay. And thank you all. The next CFAC meeting is on September 12th because there's an event on September 5th, trees event, and I think they've already sold out all the tickets. So unfortunately, so I don't know, they may be putting it on video. So if that happens, we'll let you know. Okay, thank you all very much. I appreciate all the input and the presentation that we had from Arroyo Seco, and see you all next time. You know my email address. Let's stay in touch. Thank you. Bye-bye. I'll give you time to save the chat.
How do you do it?
Okay, we're in the middle on when you go to chat. It says LANCSA Trees Committee, and there's 3 dots. Click on those 3 dots, and then the pop down menu says Save Chat, and then you click on that.
Does it say record?
No, not that down there. Oh, where you first hit on chat. The 4th one is chat. Click on that.
Okay, I don't see it. That's all right. Go on.
Well, run your cursor below your picture and click on chat. If others want to leave, it's cool. Click on chat and you'll see the chat over on the right. Did you find it, Silva? I could send you a copy.
She's gone.
Okay. All right, let's go, everybody. Let's enjoy the rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye.